Thank you Paperlike for sponsoring today's video.
What's up guys? I'm not trying to waste your time. Let's get right into the tutorial. This is how I take a traditional sketch and turn it digital. Let's do it. So let's start off by talking about the sketch. Now your first question might be, Matthew, I don't understand, why don't you just do your sketch on your iPad on Procreate? Isn't that easier? Now I would say no. I think a lot of you, started out doing traditional art. So I'm used to pencil on paper. I'm used to that feeling of like watching the pencil touch the paper and seeing the graphite leave the pencil. So I'm gonna let you guys know what I look for in a traditional sketch. So I'm looking for texture, I'm looking for movement. This means a lot of interesting mark making. When I'm shading with pencil, I like to do a little cross hatchy. I like to go with the movement of the mountains in this particular piece. You'll see the level of detail is totally up to you. It just means you might have to do a little bit more work in your digital coloring phase, you know what I mean? So for this particular drawing, I'll have less work because I already did so much of the shading with the pencil. So once you have a drawing you're happy with, you can do one of two things. You can either get a scanner and scan it nice into your computer. This is the most reliable method. It's gonna give you a nice crisp image to work on top of. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The other way to do it is waiting until it's nice and sunny out, taking a picture of it in your sketchbook and then editing it a little bit so you can get a nice crisp image. You're gonna send it off, you're gonna upload it, and now it's ready to work on top of. So now we're gonna get into the interesting technical side of the digital art that I to this day do not fully understand, but I, to the best of my ability, am going to try and tell you what I do, and hopefully it'll make sense to some extent. So, there are tons and tons of blending modes that you can choose from on Photoshop, Procreate, whatever digital software you're using, and it is definitely a little bit overwhelming. However, if you learn to use a couple of them, they will absolutely work to your advantage. So, once I import my traditional sketch, it's very gray. I'm somebody that likes to work on top of color. So I like a little bit of warmth in my sketch. So I make a layer with the blend mode color burn. If I'm doing a cool image, I'm gonna send it to a cool color. If I'm doing a warm image, I'm gonna set it to a warm color, and it's gonna light up your line art a little bit. It's gonna give it a bit of a glow, a burn, some might say. The next step is, you guys know, like I just said, I cannot work on top of white, blank canvas. My mind has nothing to work with. So I put down a multiply layer. If you don't use multiply layers, let me tell you, multiply layers do it for me. All right, they are the best blending mode you can use, in my opinion. Especially for this process, because you can lay down a color. I just want something that's going to unify my piece. So in this case, it's gonna be this warmish green, and it's just gonna help set a tone for all the other colors that are gonna be laid on top. Now that I have that color down, I'm gonna make another multiply layer. And now I'm gonna go in and make much more specific color choices. So this means different blues, different greens, different reds, yellows, and I'm gonna put things where they're supposed to go, almost like a paint by number.
Alright guys, let's get into the process. Before we go any further, just a little disclaimer, I am using a reference photo. I'm not sure the exact name of the photographer, but this is an image from a vintage national parks photography book that I have. The images in here are gorgeous and they're really great to do studies from, so that is what I'm working with today. Alright, let's talk about the process. One thing that I cannot stress enough, whether it comes to digital or traditional painting, is do not blend so much. I think that's instinct. It's like instant gratification. We can blend something and we think it looks good, but then you step back from it and it kind of looks like crap most of the time. In my opinion, that's what happens to me at least. So my biggest advice is to just kind of color block and have things blend just through color similarity. So just through harmonizing your colors, you can give the impression that colors are blending together and working together without actually smudging it all together and just having it look really flat. So yeah, don't blend, okay? The next really important tip I can give for color blocking is to repeat colors. The same color blue that I used in the pants is in the mountains. The skin color is pretty much all the same. The hair color is all the same. The red is consistent. It really brings consistency and harmonization to your piece.
So we have our scan, we have color burn, and we have 2 multiply layers so far. All right, before we go any further, I want to tell you about one of my favorite additions to the iPad Pro workflow, and today's sponsor, Paperlike. If you're a digital artist using the iPad, I'm telling you the Paperlike screen protector is a must. Just like I said at the beginning of the video, I am a traditional artist at heart. So when I first started with the iPad, I had no screen protector. It was just glass and Apple Pencil. and it was so awkward and so glossy, and it just did not feel natural at all. So once I found out that you could make your iPad feel like paper, I was like, I gotta try this. And my workflow, I'm telling you, completely changed. It feels so much more natural, so much more comfortable. So if you're creative struggling to transition to digital art, or you've been using your iPad this whole time on the glossy surface, I'm telling you, hop on the bandwagon, grab yourself one of these screen protectors. It is going to change the game. So if you guys are interested, there will be a link in the description where you can grab your paper-like screen protector today. The next step usually for me is to do some cell shading. So for my reference photo, I do have some pretty strong lights and darks, and I really want to emphasize that, and I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to go in and put the shadows in by the clothes, the shadows in the grass, on the melon, you know, things like that, just to make that foreground really pop and just bring your eye in.
Alright, so just in case you're not sure what cell shading is, it's basically just one really flat layer of shadow that's going to separate your highlights from your shadows and just give form to your image. So as you can see, you can tell that there's a light source coming from the top left of the image, as indicated from the lightness on the left side of the guy's shirt, and then there's darkness on the chest because there's like cast shadows being formed there. So I'm just illustrating a light source, essentially, is what this is. I'm also piling up a few more multiply layers in the background just to give a little bit more dimension, a little bit more form back there, and just make everything really pop and just get it nice and saturated.
So once I'm happy playing around with my multiply layers, I start to move onto layers using just normal blending modes. So now I have the opportunity to work more opaquely, which is really going to help make things pop. That means highlights, details, texture in the grass, all those sorts of things. Let's switch over to VoiceOver Matthew, who's actually doing the drawing. That way we can get some insights into the process as we're going.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time, but I'm back again to give you some more insights into my process. Basically, this is just the rendering stage of the drawing. So I have a pencil base, I have tons of multiply layers to give me my saturation, my shadows, my lights and darks, all that good stuff, you know what I mean? So pretty much, this is just about cleaning up everything I already have. One thing that I love to do at this stage of the drawing is decrease the opacity of my pencil layer, and basically what that's going to do is give my whole piece a much lighter feel. Those colors that I have down are going to poke through much more, and the black is going to reside more in the background and just make my whole image much more glowy. You can instantly tell a difference, so definitely something I would recommend doing if you're using this process. Honestly, I know this is probably going to be frustrating to hear, but this might be the part of the process that I kind of lose you guys. It's kind of hard to describe exactly what it is I'm doing. I think this part of the process is the part that takes the most practice and something you just get better at over time. If you're using a reference photo like me, I'm really just observing really intentionally and trying to understand what information is lacking and what information is needed in order to make this image really crisp and just beautiful and saturated. And so it's kind of just a play-by-play, playing it by ear, what's missing and what needs to be told. Another important note is that I do not like to completely render my drawings, like the lines on this guy's face. I don't want to completely erase that. I like the texture it gives, I like the movement it has. So I'm trying to be really subtle with all of my changes so that you don't lose that essence of looseness that is there in the initial sketch. I think that's something I struggled with a lot when I first started digital art. It's like, how do I preserve that feeling of traditional work in my digital art? And this is the only way I've really found out how. So it's really subtle changes that are going to crisp up your image. They're going to make it really sharp and rendered, but you're not going to lose the initial liveliness of your sketch. So that is the balance I'm trying to keep intact here. So usually I just go around all of my shapes and sort of carve them out. I like to make my darks darker, my highlights lighter, and I'm just kind of building on top of my initial blueprint. It's a very calculated process, so it's pretty simple.
Okay. It has been a few days of me working on this piece. It took longer than I thought, but that's all right. I enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the process. Did I put it on the screen yet? This is the finished piece. But thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you Paperlike for sponsoring today's video. If there's any unanswered questions, leave me a comment down below and I will try to get back to you. Or if you just, I don't know, if you want a specific tutorial next time, if you found this helpful and want to know more, let me know what you guys want to see next and I would be happy to jump on that for you guys. Other than that, I think we're good. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.